A goofy person. I think a lot of people don't really know her outside of basketball. Outside of basketball, she's funny. Like, she has so much personality. I think that's what people need to know about her. Like, her personality goes a long way, and she's a great person. And I think that goes, like, she helps me through every little thing. Like, I could ask a question.
Some sports stories begin in the darkest places imaginable. Public embarrassment, online mockery, and moments so painful that the athlete at the center of it seriously thinks about walking away from everything they spent their entire life chasing. But sometimes those same moments turn into something inspiring instead. Sometimes the exact situation that almost destroys someone becomes the reason they grow stronger than ever before. Raven Johnson's journey became both of those stories at the same time. She experienced one of the lowest moments imaginable as a young athlete, then transformed it into one of the most powerful comeback stories in women's basketball. And strangely enough, the person connected to both sides of that story, without ever intending to be, was Caitlin Clark.
Bro, the Fever really selected Raven Johnson as the number 10 pick to come play with Clark. Do y'all remember this? Clark waving her off in college, and then she recently was talking in an interview about it again, about how she got waved off, and now they gonna be playing together.
To understand how everything unfolded, you have to go back to where it all started. The year was 2023 during the NCAA Women's Final Four matchup between Iowa and South Carolina. At that point, Caitlin Clark had already become the biggest star in college basketball. She was dominating headlines, filling highlight reels, and turning every game into a national event. During that matchup, one small basketball decision suddenly became a massive viral moment online. Raven Johnson was left open beyond the three-point line, and Clark made a defensive read that Johnson was not a major perimeter threat at that moment. From a basketball perspective, it was simply strategy, nothing personal, nothing disrespectful. But the internet treated the clip like something much bigger than a normal in-game decision.
No, we haven't. I think that's in the past. We're teammates now, and we have one goal. That's to win a championship. And I'm coming in. I want to win the championship too, and I'm pretty sure that's her main goal too. So whatever I can do to help win a championship, that's the goal.
The reaction that followed became brutal for Raven Johnson. Social media flooded with criticism, mockery, and non-stop online bullying from people attacking a young athlete over a single basketball moment. Comments became relentless, and Johnson later admitted just how deeply the situation affected her mentally. At only 20 years old, she suddenly found herself dealing with enormous pressure while trying to handle the attention that comes with being a young black woman competing on a national stage. The negativity became so overwhelming that she seriously considered leaving basketball entirely. Not taking a temporary break, completely walking away from the sport she had dedicated her entire life to. All of that pain came from a moment that lasted only a few seconds on the court, which makes the situation even more heartbreaking when looking back at it now.
I hate the internet now because of that situation. Like, I got bashed, I got bullied, I got called all these things that I wasn't, aka like a monkey or this, I don't know, like it was just things like that. And I just think I wanted to quit basketball at that time. And I wanted to just go in this little bubble of isolation and just be by myself. And I think, I leaned on God. I had some wonderful teammates, wonderful people in my life, like I said, and they helped me find that light, and it put so much fuel to the fire to me to go back the next year, and we were undefeated and met that team again, and we beat them. So I think it was all God.
But the most important part of the story is what happened next. Raven Johnson refused to let that moment define her future. Instead of walking away, she returned to South Carolina stronger and more determined than before. She trusted Coach Dawn Staley, leaned on her teammates, and decided to use the criticism as motivation instead of allowing it to destroy her confidence. That decision completely changed the direction of her career. South Carolina went on to win the national championship, defeating Caitlin Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes during their tournament run. Johnson played an important role throughout that championship season, proving she was far stronger than the internet ever gave her credit for. When she celebrated on the biggest stage in college basketball, it represented far more than just winning a title. It represented overcoming the darkest moment of her career and refusing to let public humiliation become the ending of her story. That level of resilience cannot be faked because true mental toughness is built through pain, growth, and the decision to keep moving forward when quitting would have been easier.
Beat New York 109-91. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is people putting respect on Raven Johnson's name. First game, WNBA debut, 6 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, no turnovers, you guys. None. I've been talking about Raven Johnson being underrated for far too long. Cut to the clip. Those of us that have been following the Gamecocks for longer than a couple of years know Raven Johnson is literally her. It is unfortunate that sometimes she does not get the respect that she deserves. I don't know what you guys thought was about to happen, but this is Raven Johnson, 18 minutes off the bench. First preseason WNBA game. She just got done playing college basketball, you guys. It's only April.
Raven Johnson entered the professional level with an incredible resume already attached to her name. She finished her college career as a 2-time national champion and was widely viewed by analysts as one of the most WNBA-ready players in the entire 2026 draft class. When draft night finally arrived, the Indiana Fever selected Johnson with the 10th overall pick. And the deeper meaning behind that moment immediately caught the attention of the basketball world. The Indiana Fever, the team led by Caitlin Clark, had just drafted the same player Clark once famously left open during one of the biggest games in college basketball history. Suddenly, the two athletes connected by one of the most talked about moments in women's basketball were now teammates wearing the same jersey and sharing the same locker room. It almost felt too perfectly scripted to be real. If someone had written the story as a movie, most people probably would have said it sounded unrealistic.
Selects Raven Johnson, South Carolina. Raven Johnson, South Carolina.
The first question everyone immediately wanted answered was obvious. What was this relationship actually going to feel like in real life? Not the polished press conference version, but the honest reality behind the scenes. What was it like for Raven Johnson to walk into the same building every day as Caitlin Clark? What did it feel like practicing, preparing, and competing alongside the player who unintentionally became connected to one of the hardest periods of her life? Johnson answered those questions directly and with surprising honesty. She didn't avoid the topic or pretend the history between them never existed. Instead, she explained that she chose to leave the past behind the moment she joined the Indiana Fever. According to Johnson, once she put on that jersey, her focus became completely centered on winning championships. She also revealed that from the very first day of training camp, Clark was preaching the exact same mindset to the team.
And I think that goes, like, she helps me through every little thing. Like, I could ask a question and she has an answer for it. So I think that's, like, just playing with somebody like her, it means a lot to me. But she also has that sense of humor where she makes me laugh too. And I'm like, Kaylin, where did that come from? So it's like little things like that. But I'm also funny too, so I think that's where we kind of match together and we vibe with each other like that. So I love being here with her.
But the most interesting part of Johnson's story came after those first public comments. As time passed, she became increasingly open about what Caitlin Clark was actually like behind the scenes as a teammate. Not as a global superstar, not as the face of women's basketball, and not as the biggest commercial name in the sport, but simply as a person genuinely invested in helping the people around her succeed. Johnson explained that Clark helped guide her through every difficult adjustment that comes with transitioning from college basketball to the WNBA. She walked her through the speed of the professional game, the tactical differences, the mental pressure, and the daily challenges rookies face while trying to survive in one of the toughest leagues in sports. Johnson even joked that she probably asked Clark 1,000 questions during training camp, and Clark patiently answered every single one. That detail says a lot because Caitlin Clark has no obligation to spend that kind of time mentoring a rookie. She's already the franchise centerpiece, the player selling jerseys across the country, the athlete drawing record television ratings, and one of the most recognizable names in basketball. She could easily protect her time and focus entirely on herself. Instead, she chose to sit beside a young teammate who once stood across from her during a heated college rivalry and help her adjust to professional basketball step by step. She answered question after question, helping Johnson learn how to survive and succeed in a league that gives rookies very little room for mistakes. That level of investment goes beyond ordinary leadership. It reveals a side of Clark that many people outside the locker room rarely get the chance to see. That is what true leadership looks like. But there's another side to this story that goes beyond basketball entirely, the personal side of who Caitlin Clark actually is behind the scenes. Raven Johnson has openly talked about that part as well, and what she described is very different from the ultra-competitive image most fans see during games. According to Johnson, Clark is loving, goofy, and far more playful than people realize. She explained that Clark has a natural personality that completely changes the atmosphere in a room, not because of basketball talent, but because of the energy she brings around teammates every day. Johnson said most fans only know the intense competitor they see on television, but inside the locker room there's another version of Clark that the public rarely gets to witness. That version is constantly joking around with teammates, making funny faces in team photos, and creating moments that keep the locker room loose and connected. Johnson described Clark as someone who genuinely enjoys making people laugh and helping rookies feel comfortable. The Indiana Fever's own social media later gave fans a glimpse of exactly what Johnson was talking about. During training camp, photos surfaced showing Clark playfully running away from Johnson while laughing, while another image captured Johnson hugging Clark as Clark made an exaggerated goofy expression for the camera. None of it looked forced or staged for publicity. It looked natural, two teammates who had moved beyond a complicated past and built a real friendship from it. That kind of chemistry cannot be manufactured because people either genuinely connect or they don't. And according to everything Johnson has shared publicly, that connection between them is completely real. Now the conversation shifts toward what all of this actually means for Raven Johnson's future as a professional player. Beyond the friendship, the jokes, and the supportive locker room environment, there is also a massive basketball advantage that comes from playing alongside Caitlin Clark every single day. Johnson entered the WNBA at a time when the Indiana Fever were no longer rebuilding or simply hoping to become competitive again. The organization had already entered a true championship window, building a roster specifically designed to compete for titles around a young superstar core. That changes everything about the environment Johnson is developing inside. The expectations are higher. The margin for mistakes is smaller. The daily standards inside the building become far more demanding. Clark's influence on that culture is impossible to ignore. The preparation habits, the professionalism, the intensity during practices, and the refusal to settle for anything less than maximum effort create an atmosphere where young players are constantly being pushed to improve. That is now the environment Raven Johnson works inside every single day. For a rookie trying to transition into professional basketball, there may not be a better situation to learn and grow in.
If somebody I support was hanging with somebody that I hated the most, even though she's the reason why any of us are watching the WNBA like we're watching it, yeah, Caitlin the reason for all this. Yeah, all you Caitlin haters, I know y'all mad. Yeah, see, y'all be getting mad when I say Caitlin the GOAT, but Raven just said it. So are all you South Carolina Gamecock fans, all you big Raven Johnson fans, are y'all gonna be mad at her too? Yeah, do you see how nice and lovely and how good the connection between Raven and Caitlin and Raven and Sophie is? I know y'all hate that. And it's fine. Cause y'all be trying to gas like, oh, Raven's gonna come and take over the team. No, it don't work over here, no.
And early signs showed that Johnson was handling the challenge extremely well. During her WNBA preseason debut against the New York Liberty, she played with confidence and composure, finishing with multiple assists, made shots, and defensive plays against one of the league's strongest teams. For a rookie stepping into professional basketball for the first time, it was an impressive beginning that immediately caught attention. Later, when she stepped into a larger role during a game against the Dallas Wings after Clark left the floor following an explosive scoring performance, Johnson once again responded calmly under pressure. Instead of disappearing in a difficult moment, she looked prepared and comfortable running the offense while contributing as both a scorer and facilitator. More importantly, she looked like a player who understood the pace and demands of the professional game much earlier than most rookies typically do. That development doesn't happen by accident. It comes from strong coaching, daily preparation, and learning alongside teammates who are willing to invest time into your growth. Johnson's confidence on the floor already reflected the kind of environment Indiana has built around its young core.
You think to just competitive spirit, like you both want to win a championship, have played a lot of big games, played against each other, trying to win big games. So like, what is it like, and how quickly did you kind of like marry those two ideas of like, all right, we're teammates now, it's time to go try to win here?
Yeah, I put the past in the past. Honestly, when I put the Indiana Fever jersey on, I said, let's try to win the championship together. And I think, you know, with her, that's all she talks about is winning, pro habits, and like the little margin for room are ever very small when it comes to like the finals games. She talks a lot about that. So I just be telling her like, I want to do whatever it takes to win. Like I want to win the championship, and that's really the big goal for me and my teammates.
The easy version of this story would have focused entirely on the rivalry angle. It would have reduced every interaction between Caitlin Clark and Raven Johnson to that viral Final Four moment from college basketball. Every practice, every game, every sideline interaction could have been framed through the lens of tension and unresolved history because that is the type of narrative people naturally gravitate toward online. It is dramatic, simple, and easy to package into headlines. But the Real story turned out to be far more meaningful than that. Instead of holding on to old emotions, both players chose maturity. They chose growth. They chose to see each other as people rather than symbols tied to one difficult basketball moment from years earlier. Raven Johnson publicly said she left the past behind, and Caitlin Clark backed that up through her actions from the very beginning. Clark welcomed Johnson into the team, answered her questions, guided her through training camp, helped her adjust to the league, and made sure she felt supported every step of the way. More importantly, she created an environment where no young player feels isolated while trying to survive the challenges of professional basketball. Through her actions, Clark continuously showed that success on this team is built together. Teammates help each other improve, push each other forward, and grow together instead of leaving rookies to struggle alone. That message became obvious in the way Johnson spoke about her experience with the Fever.
I'm not gonna hold y'all. Amber Cox might have cooked with this draft pick. When I say so many narratives are ending with every clip we see from this preseason game, every clip we see from training camp, the Fever's PR in the locker room is up 1,000%. And it's so funny because literally Aaliyah Boston said on her podcast last week, it's all the fans. All of the narratives and the crazy beef, it's not the players. The players literally have no beef. I bet a lot of the times the players are looking at stuff that fans are saying and in the locker room laughing at y'all.
When you step back and look at Raven Johnson's entire journey, the story becomes much bigger than basketball itself. This is someone who once experienced intense public humiliation, non-stop online criticism, and moments so painful that she seriously considered giving up on the sport completely. Yet somehow, she fought through all of it and eventually arrived in the WNBA stronger than before, playing alongside the very player connected to the moment that nearly broke her confidence years earlier. Now, instead of resentment or bitterness, the relationship between them has become something positive, supportive, and genuinely meaningful.